What's up, everybody? Welcome to Sword Talk. How's everybody doing here? Hope everybody's enjoying your Labor Day weekend. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for taking some time to join me in the room here today. So let me go around the room. Samurai Bird, Carl, Alex, Gargoyles Blades, Matt. Thanks for joining me, Matt. Man, the myth, the legend, Mr. RVA Katana himself, Mr. John is here. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Appreciate that, which is perfect because you could probably answer a lot of questions that I can't about your swords. But yeah, welcome everybody into the room, man. Eric Hussein, BC Gerbs, you guys were here pretty early. Thanks, guys, for joining me. Gerbs, I think you're a moderator, and I think I made Mr. Big Bird, Samurai Big Bird, a moderator as well. How's everybody doing, man? Thanks for being here once again. So brought you guys here to talk about swords, and I had a nice surprise from John from RVA Katana. Sent me over some two more sample swords from company formerly known as Visor. Now it's Cloudhammer, which I like a lot better. It's actually Cloudhammer Steelworks, if I'm not mistaken, is the full title. And I do like the name a lot better. I don't know where it came from, but it's definitely a damn cool name. So yes, I have two more sample swords I'm looking to really get into. I like what I'm seeing with them so far, so I figure I'll make up a live to kind of just reveal them or unveil them to you and all that, and maybe just talk about the swords a little bit, about the company. John can answer some questions, and I'll say this early also, there is an interview coming up I have set up. John, help me if I'm right, which I have to put the placeholder up. I believe it's the 12th. It's let me see, Tuesday. What do we got? Or the 13th. I think it's a Tuesday, John. I think next Tuesday or so, I think I have a live set up with John from RVA Katana, and we're going to talk all about swords, the sword market, especially the swords that he sells, in particular Cloudhammer. So that's going to be a pretty exciting interview on my channel with John and myself. That's going to be coming up. I believe it's on either the 12th or 13th. I'll probably put a placeholder up to let you guys know exactly when it's going to be. Pete Morrissey, thanks, buddy. Thanks for joining me, man. What time is it you by over there? I don't know about the time zones. I know it's probably either really early or really late by you right now. So I don't know if you're drinking a cup of coffee, if you're chilling out with a beer, Mr. Pete. Thanks for joining us, buddy. That would be awesome, John. If you could get the boss to come on, let me know, man. That would be mad freaking cool. I would love that. I would love to have the honor of having him on with you, which is cool. And definitely, yeah. If you can make that happen, even if he comes on for like a couple of minutes, John, I think that would be mad cool. Yeah, see if you can kind of make that happen. So, what are you guys doing? Anything exciting this weekend? What have you guys been up to? You guys been cutting? You guys been playing with your knives, your blades, your swords? You've been cutting. You've been doing your thing. What have you guys been up to? And Bird, I got to tell you, Bird, it was so cool. And if you guys don't know, Samurai Bird is like kind of has a couple feet into the door. He's kind of back in. He made up 2 videos, I believe, Bird. So we saw him cutting. We saw him reviewing his swords, doing his thing. So it was very cool to see Bird back on YouTube, swinging his swords around, kind of getting back to recovery and getting his groove going on. So I was very, very cool to see that, Bird. Very, very cool. So if you guys haven't seen that, definitely check out his videos. European company which wants him to say neighbor in the background. I got you. But if it's possible, I definitely think that would be a really cool thing for him to join. If not now, maybe another time. What's up, Scott? Mr. Behind the Scenes, Scott. Scott works hard behind the scenes. Scott N. I thank you, Scott. You work hard behind the scenes to let everybody know when these lives are. And you put up like this a whole calendar thing that you share on Instagram. So, Scott, much appreciated, buddy. You're a big help to all us content creators in the community, especially for us that are kind of just trying to get the live out there to everyone. Gruggs, thanks for joining us, Gruggs. How you doing, buddy? How's your lobster doing this weekend? Gruggs gets very excited with the holiday weekends because he comes out with all his food specialties and stuff and shares it, which is very cool. So how you eating, Gruggs? You doing good? You got a stomach ache? Gruggs, how do you eat, Gruggs? Do you do like the old time Romans where you just eat beyond capacity? You go in the bathroom, throw up, and try to eat again? You do it like the Romans? What do you do? Inquiring minds would like to know. Who else is here? How you pronounce that? Bluminda. Man, I can't see this shit. Bluminati Ninja. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Scab is in the room. What's up, Scab? How you doing, bud? Hope you're having a great weekend. Hope you enjoyed the game. Thank you, everybody. Eric, this is actually two swords. One is a katana. One is kind of a waki, but not quite a waki, which I'll explain to you exactly what I'm talking about. But what else, guys? Tell me anything interesting you guys are doing this weekend. I'm gonna try to get a couple more people in the room, and I'll show the swords out. Everybody, I'm assuming, is off tomorrow. I am actually taking a plane tomorrow to go to work. Yes, they're making me work on Labor Day. It's actually my travel day, so I'll be away for a couple of days. Everybody's chilling? Good. Well, I'm glad you guys are all chilling with me. Yes, Eric, it's I'm gonna explain it to you, but I think it's more of a more than a waki. I think it's more of like a Ko-Katana. A slightly shorter katana, because you'll see the handle, you'll see the suka and the blade. It's a little bit longer than you would normally see on a traditional waki. So John also recommended that we probably call it a Ko-Katana rather than a waki. So I guess the jury's out on that, what exactly this is going to be called. Yes, keep on cutting there, Alex. Keep on cutting there, buddy. Too old. I got you, Grugs. I got you. Night Delights. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Hope you're having a fantastic weekend. Hope everybody's having a great weekend. I hope you guys had a chance to kind of kick back, put a beer in your hand, or whatever beverage you like. Smoke them if you got them. And hope you guys are enjoying this weekend. Hope you guys enjoy tomorrow. Hope the weather is good on your neck of the woods, wherever you are in the country there. Hope you guys are having good weather. Hope you guys are safe, and hope you guys enjoy the rest of the weekend. Samurai James. Yeah, I got that, Bird. I read that. Yeah, you can get two hands on it. Well, you know what? Let me start showing you these swords. All right, so two swords I'm going to show you guys now. These swords, I would venture to say that they're prototypes because they're one of a kind. They're not, I don't believe, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, these are the first of their kind right now. This is not being sold on the website yet, so I would say they're prototypes. I think they're presentation models for your store. So I think these are pretty much, one of a kind right now. That are first in production. And I guess we're going to call them prototypes because there's a couple of things that they probably have to work out before they fully sell them in the marketplace, or maybe change up some of the kashiri, the mountings and stuff like that. So we're going to call these I'm going to kind of treat these as prototypes in terms of these swords. And I'll try my best to kind of just treat them as so, and also highlight anything that I think should be changed. And that's a good thing about this company, guys, is the fact that they are sending these samples out. And John, thank you so much for sending these samples out to me. I really appreciate it. But the fact that they are sending these samples out to reviewers, to cutters that are able to give feedback within the videos, and then people were able to comment, and they have a total outlook as far as what they're doing good on these swords and what they need to improve on these swords. So I think that's a fantastic thing that they're doing. And it's a great way to start, branching out a new company, is to basically hear the voice of the people and hearing what is great and what, the negatives and the positives about the sword, so they can go back, make them better, and try to keep everything up to par to what we're kind of looking for in terms of how they cut, how they're balanced, how the fit and finishes, how the polishes, anything that, would come about. So I am going to be treating these like prototypes because, again, they're the first of their kind, and I don't believe that they're being sold. John, you said the S105V is a prototype. Okay. Is in stock. Okay, so the Ko-Katana, Ko-Katana, Kodachi, whatever you want to call it, that's actually in stock being sold. Okay, gotcha. But the Katana is a prototype. All right, so that's pretty much what it is. I think it's actually, Bird, I think it's actually a Ko-Katana. You'll see what I'm talking about. Once I show you it, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Yes, you are, Eric. Yes, you are. So welcome, guys. Everybody that's joining into the room, welcome. I'm actually going to start showing these swords. So let me start showing you the Katana first. Let me get all the specs in front of me here. All right, S105B. Okay. All right, so let me see if I can get back here a little bit. All right, so here is the Katana, guys. Now, it's a lot of really good things to say about this sword. I really have a lot of good things to say about it. Before I even go into the Suka or anything like that, one thing I really love is the saya. It's a Hishime saya. Okay, it's kind of like a matte finish saya, not a fingerprint magnet. This is a very nimble sword, a very light and nimble sword. I really, really like it. I believe it's about 27 inches or so, 26 and a half. It's a good length. The Suka is probably a shy under 11 inches. But one constant thing that you see also, before I get into the saya, with the wrapping of the Ito around the Suka, everything is always extremely well done. Okay, one improvement that they made with the Koshira is the fact that it's a lot tighter. Okay, I noticed the Year of the Tiger one that I had. There was a little bit of a wiggle or loose. This is completely tight. It doesn't move at all. The knot is very tight. And you notice how the diamonds are really very, very even. The Ito is extremely tight. And I love this leather material that they put on the Suka. It's definitely different than anything I've seen before. I've held in my hand. It's definitely a really good quality leather, or at least real leather. I mean, I don't know if I want to call it excellent quality leather, but it's definitely real leather compared to a lot of the production market. When they give you a leather Ito, it doesn't feel, smell, or just look like real leather. It has too much of a luster to it, which if I have time, I'll compare it to another one that I have. But if you notice, very even diamonds and Manuki, even around the Manuki here, if I can just try to find where it is here. Okay, very, very tight. I love how they put the one Makugi peg, okay, right here, and it's visible, so you can basically be able to remove it without too much of a problem. But everything is very tight and even, okay? The one thing that there was a problem on this sword, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but you notice on the Fuchi, there's a little bit of a ledge here. So John had explained to me this is going to be changed, which I'll get to it on my review. But this collar piece was a little bit larger than the Suka itself. So they're going to basically probably make the Suka width a little bit, give it a little bit more width so it fills up the collar and it fills up this thing here. So that's going to be addressed. But other than that, it doesn't really move much. It stays in place. It doesn't stop you from using the sword or anything like that. It's just a little bit more. It's more of a cosmetic type of thing to have a little bit of a ledge. Whereas this one, so you would want to have this kind of fit seamlessly right here. But other than that, they did a really, really nice job on this leather, on the wrapping of the Ito, around the Manuki, the one Makugi peg, the knots. The Kashina is very, very tight. They probably put some adhesive on, as I said, they probably should do. But other than that, it's very, very tight. Sub is tight. Everything is very cool. Now, what I want to show you about this, let me just get back to the comments, see if there's anything here. I mean, if we can kind of call this, if we want to call this a Kodashi, because basically also on this here, Alex, you have the Sayajiri, I believe this is called, which is a chape in European swords. You have this at the end of the Saya. So this you would normally find on a Tachi. So if we want to call this a Kodashi, we can call this a Kodashi. Okay, again, the jury's out. I don't know if we're going to call this, what we're going to call this yet. But right now, I'm going to call this a katana, and it has an additional sayajiri here, which is like a chape on a European sword. And this is also very tight. It's very seamless. There's no sharp edges. They did this pretty good. There's no wiggle or looseness or anything like that. I like it. It's a nice touch of kind of add this in here. And, you have the really nice pieces here. Pretty nice moldings that they have that Cloudhammer uses. Pretty much is constant. You look at the Suba here. Try to get a better angle here. Okay, this I believe is a dragon. You can see the dragon somewhere. I think it's right around there. Pretty good detail. I really like their castings and how it's different. I've seen stuff similar to this, but I also seen something similar to this, a lot more muddy. This actually is pretty well done. The only thing I would have changed is probably instead of having copper seppas, I would probably have been like silver seppas. It would probably match a little bit better. But other than that, I mean, the Suba is pretty good. There is one thing I noticed about the Suba, but I'll get to that. Okay. So the saya, what I noticed about the saya is the fact that look at it's going to be hard for you to see it on the camera. There is a beautiful distal taper from here all the way down to here. It thins out, okay, to the blade, and you don't normally see that on many production swords. It's there like that, and also from the Suba all the way down to the Kasaki, there's a nice distal taper. It's got a really nice thin profile, okay, along the plane of the saya all the way down to the point. It's got a really nice distal taper. It's going to be hard for you to see it on this camera, but it's got a great fit. There's absolutely no sword rattle whatsoever. I mean, I can shake this as much as possible. There's absolutely no sword rattle. This is a really, really nice fit of the blade into the saya with a beautiful distal taper from here, and it thins out here into a thinner profile. So I really am loving what they did with this saya. It's got a great feel to it. I love the hishime, okay, finish on it. I really love this. And you just hold the sword in your hand, guys. It's a very light and nimble sword. I'm really loving it. So you have bullhorn where you need to have bullhorn. The Kuragata knob was done pretty well. You don't see any paint residue. It's very, very seamless. The Sageo, typical good quality Sageo. It's got a nice luster to it, too. I like this color. It contrasts the sword, especially it's contrasted against the side. It's got a really nice luster to it. I'm really digging the color scheme and everything they picked on here. It's just a really good matched up sword in terms of the color scheme, in terms of the saya, the hishime. I really am liking what they did with this design, okay? Very, very, very much so. So let me get to some more of the details. All right, so one thing that I did notice, muddy fingers go for ice modes, clear ones come from steel modes. Got it, understood. What's up, Danimal? Thanks for joining us, buddy. I love the narrow saya. I really do. I just feel like when you see the distal tape and the narrow saya, I feel like, and you feel like it's shaped for the blade, and you feel like you're just holding a much higher quality sword, okay, in your hand when you have a saya done as well done as this is done. And the fact that, and I don't expect for there to be any sword rattle because it is a really nice shaped saya in accordance to the blade, and I'm really glad you guys are doing that. What's up, Carl? Welcome back. Yes, it does, 100%. So now, basically, if I had this on my hip and I was kind of opening this up with my thumb, okay? One thing I did notice, John, okay, where I put my thumb here to kind of pop this open, there is a little bit of a sharp ledge, okay? That, I would say, has to be smoothed out a little bit because it doesn't cut you, but it definitely is, there is discomfort, okay? In terms of the ledge right here on the Suba, it does bite into your thumb a little bit when you kind of, popping it open. So that's something maybe they want to kind of buff out on the Suba, just so it doesn't. There's no discomfort. There's more of a ledge that there needs to be, or at least maybe buff out the ledge so it doesn't kind of dig into your thumb when you're kind of doing no-toe and kind of popping it open, you do definitely feel it, you know, an indentation on your thumb, and you could actually probably see that on the camera here. So that's probably something you want to look at. Yes, it definitely makes it a lot easier. I love, this is my favorite finish on any saya. I would go with a saya, more a Hishime type of saya like this, smooth, not a fingerprint magnet, always looks clean and presentable. I would choose this type of finish over like a glossy finish pretty much any day. Absolutely. And that's the way it should be, buddy, with 100%. All right, so we're going to pop it open, and we're going to show you the blade. Before I even show you the blade, look, let me see if I can get a better angle on this camera without breaking shit. Check out that Habaki, guys. And check out the Habaki in comparison to the rest of the fittings. Now, this is definitely a different Habaki. You don't see something like this every day. You notice how you can see the blade right through? I really like this Habaki. So it's definitely something different. Very welcome feature, basically, to see. I'm just struggling to try and get you a good picture. But you notice, guys, how the copper seppa or brass seppa, I think it's either copper or brass, I think it's copper, how it kind of clashes with the rest of the colors. I think that should have probably been like more of a silver finish. It would kind of blend in a little bit better. Or if they wanted to contrast, that's a different story. But I would say it kind of clashes a little bit with, it'll make the Habaki look stand out a little bit more if it kind of just blended into the seppa. But that's my opinion. But yeah, this is a really, really nice Habaki call. It really is. It's got a nice fit to it. You know, I actually can't wait to take this apart. There's some spaces, some fingernail spaces in between, but other than that, it's always good to have something different, guys. Always good to have something different than what you normally see. All right, so let me spray this down a little bit because there's still a little bit of oil. Drill some holes in yours. All right, Bert. Go for it, buddy. Just trying to kind of take the oil off of here. I'm definitely going to wipe this down again after I'm done. All right, guys. So here is the blade. All right. It's got a nice mirror polish. I would imagine it's a Shinogi Zukuri architecture. Doesn't have a Hamon line. This is actually a S105V. It's a Japanese tool steel. Is it a tool steel? Let me see. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. So this is actually a Japanese tool steel. Is pretty much what it is. It's got an Okazaki tip. Now, the one thing I noticed about the Okazaki, I don't know if you can see it, but you notice like the little bit of a point. I feel like that could have been smoothed out a little bit. It kind of it's hard for the camera to pick up, but it comes to a little bit of a kind of a point over here where I wish it was kind of smoothed out a little bit more on the Okazaki. But other than that, the Okazaki looks pretty good. But that I think could have been shaped a little bit better to make it a little bit more of a rounded. But other than that, it's because Okazaki is mirror polished. If you hold it in the right light, you can see a little bit of a difference in there. But for the most part, it's mirror polished like the rest of the blade. I believe this is about a 27-inch blade. It's got nice planes to it. I haven't even really examined it yet. Yeah, you could probably see it in the camera. See the lines are pretty damn good. No ripples or anything like that. That's actually a pretty nice angle with this camera. But it looks pretty good. I mean, straight as can be. Yeah, I like the polishing work that they do on their swords. It's got a really nice swordry to it as well. Again, very, very light sword, okay? And it's made to be a really, really light and nimble cutter that for the most part. But yes, it feels really good in the hand. My sweet spot on the Suka is probably around 11 inches. This is a little bit shy. It's probably 10 and a half, 10 and 3/4, I believe, the Suka length, but it's definitely enough real estate can kind of just get this into your hand and be comfortable kind of swinging around. Everything is very tight. The Suba is definitely a little bit larger call than normal. Yeah, they are. I would say you're right about that. This is definitely a little bit of a larger Suba, which I like. I like a larger Suba. Actually, the HSTS, the sword you gave to Scab Call, I believe that also had this size Suba. It had a little bit of a larger Suba, which I really like. Price? Okay, the price. That I was getting to that. The price of this sword, this particular katana, I have it here somewhere. Okay, so this the retail of this katana right now, as you see it for the most part, might be a couple little changes here and there. It's with the SX105V. It's a Japanese tool steel, which is really cool. I really like the fact that it's a Japanese tool steel. This retails at around $450, customized with the white brass fittings, is what you're seeing here. So this is around 450 bucks. I'm assuming with the saya and everything that you're seeing here, which is not a bad deal for a really nice, well put together sword. And just the fact of how they did the wrapping with that real leather and that really nice castings and that oversized, I wouldn't say oversized, a nice size Suba. But once they fix also the Fuchi and make the Suka a little bit wider so it fits the Fuchi a little bit better, this will be a really, really nice sword, a nice presentation sword. And I got to tell you, they make art. They really do. One thing that I noticed that's a constant with Cloudhammer is the fact that they really are making pieces of art that are functional. That's really their goal, is to make pieces of art, something has a really nice presentation, that's put together well, but that is also capable and ready to cut. That's what I really like about them. S105 for the American market, which is a very, very good idea. I just love the fact that it's a Japanese tool steel. So at least I have Japanese steel in my hand, guys. I got Japanese steel in my hand. Oh, he customizes at 450. Yes, this is what it reminds me of. Carl, this Suba reminds me of the HSTS sword, the beater sword that you gave to Scab. It has this size. It reminded me right off the bat of that size Suba. I like a bigger Suba on a sword. I just feel like it has an overall better presentation. I just like it. It's just bigger is better with a Suba. That's what I say. Okay, so that's the katana. So let's show you the Waki or Ko-Katana, whatever you want to call it. But this is definitely a very, very good looking sword. Aside from maybe the tip just having a little bit, the Okasaki having a little bit of a pointed ledge and not as fluid as it should be, which I'm sure they're going to be addressing. And the collar here being a little bit larger than the Suka, I think this is an incredible fit and finish. Love the saya. I love basically how they put this together. Did notice like a little bit of a indentation. I don't know if that's a crack in the bullhorn, John, or an indentation, but there is something there. I'm going to have to really get some close-ups on it and see what's going on with that. But other than that, the fit is very nice, guys. It really kind of just slides in, locks into place, pops out with no problem. A little bit of a ledge here, obviously. Shows that really nice Habaki and kind of goes into place. Doesn't fall out, doesn't wiggle, doesn't rattle. It's a great, great fit and finish of this sword. I'm really liking it. So, yeah, can't wait to kind of get in and review this. So now let me show you the Waki, or whatever it's going to be called. All right, guys, this is the Waki. Now, you notice how It's a little bit larger than standard Waki. I think a standard Waki is anywhere from about 12 to 24 inches. Traditionally, is the size of the blade, like 12 to 24 inches. John, help me out here. I think this is about, which I'll measure it. I think it's about 25 inches or 24 and a half inches, I believe, this blade. But this is the Waki. So again, we'll start from the top here. Again, Kashira, very tight. No movement. I'm glad that they improved that right off the bat. There's absolutely no movement here. The knot is good. The diamonds are fairly even. I'm hoping you guys can see this on the camera okay. 60 centimeters, which interprets to what? I believe that's about, what, 24 inches, John? So the diamonds are fairly even. One Mukugi peg. Again, it's visible, and you're able to kind of take it apart without bringing up the Ito. I love it that they think to do that. And good quality Samigawa. Nice fittings also on here. Really nice castings on these. Okay, you notice the Suba here as well. You got some birds. You got some types of flower petals or something like that. But this is a nice solid iron Suba as well. Again, nice weight to it. Feels like it's nimble. There's really no rattle of this. It's not an audible rattle, guys. It's kind of a feeling. But I would say it's got a really good fit of the saya. Okay, this is also the saya. It's hard for you to see, but you notice it's like kind of like a gray. You got the black with the white speckles there. It's kind of gray with a little bit of a luster to it. I really like this saya. It actually kind of reminds me of the saya I have for my Huawei, but it has more of a blue tint on the Huawei. But the planes on this are pretty good. Not many ripples. It looks pretty damn good. Yeah, I like the work they did to the saya, and I always love the fact that it has a good fit. When you get a sword, it has a good fit of the blade into the saya. You know, it was just done with pride. It was they did extra work to make sure it fit well. It doesn't rattle around. It stays in place. Cherry blossoms, yes, that's what they are called. I really love exactly what they did. How they kind of just put their stuff together and take pride in it. There's no ledges here though, guys. The Fuchi matches up with the Ito really, really well. It's got a nice transition to it. I actually can't wait to really get my camera on this and really focus on it. But again, same quality Sageo. Bullhorn on the Korigata. No paint or anything like that. It's got pretty nice execution there. Really, really liking this. Now, this blade pops out of place really well. The Habaki, kind of standard Habaki, but, it's clean. It's executed well. I don't see much space or anything like that. No wiggle or anything like that. This particular blade, which I am going to clean it up so you can see a little bit better. Got my bottle of alcohol. These also are a little bit sharper than the first Year of the Tiger sword I had. I think they did a little bit better of a sharpening. Yeah, these are definitely sharper. I may hone them up before I do any cutting with them a little bit, but no reprofile or anything like that much is needed other than maybe just honing them. But these are also an improvement in the sharpness on these blades compared to the Year of the Tiger practical katana that I received the first time. Yes, John is the rep. John is the Cloudhammer's rep in the States. Okay. Now, the special thing about this sword, guys, this particular blade is S5. Okay. Now you can see how. Now, let me actually measure the blade if I can. I would say it's about a 23-inch blade. And the Sukas, I think I measured it around 9 inches. Yeah, and it's around 9 inches. Now you can definitely have enough real estate to get two hands on here. So that's why it's larger than a Waki. Okay, I could get two hands on here pretty comfortably and still have space where I'm not really choking up on the Suba and still have space in between. So you could definitely get two hands on here without too much of a problem. Okay, it's definitely good as a one-handed weapon, but you could definitely get two hands on here. So that's why I would say we could probably call this a Ko-Katana, a slightly smaller katana in terms of the American market and how we kind of call our blades and all that. But this size blade was actually the size of many traditional katana. More katana were back in the day were 24 inches because you got to admit Japanese people weren't very tall guys. So, this was probably the size of most katanas. But for argument's sake, in terms of the American market, we could probably call this a Ko-Katana because most katana in today's market are more or less like 27, 28 inches or more. I mean, they could be 30 inches, 31 inches. I mean, they get freaking crazy big. Start looking like European swords after a while. Yeah, this is about 23 inches, John. I measured it around 23 inches, almost 24, like 23 and change. So it's definitely a little bit larger than a standard Waki. So now, again, the very special thing about this, other than the fact that it is a larger Waki or a Ko-Katana, this sword is made with S5. Now, S5, you guys know, S5 is more like a tool steel. But the special thing about S5, other than the fact that S5 is like kind of is their trademark steel that they're very proud of and they're known for right now is their S5 steel. That's, I think, one of their best steels that they offer at Cloudhammer. So other than the fact that makes it special, the S5 steel is not a spring steel. It's a tool steel, which I won't do it. But I believe John had told me they tested this blade out and bended. They did a bend of about 90 degrees and it went back to form again. So it's not generally a spring steel, but it can go up to 90 degree in a bend in a vice grip without it taking a set. So that's pretty damn cool, man. So now if you compare this to the other steel, the X105, the Japanese tool steel, if it can be also, what I forgot to mention, the Japanese tool steel can be differentially hardened or through hardened. Both these swords are through hardened blades. But it's actually that Japanese tool steel is only about half as tough as the S5, but it can be harder. So the Japanese tool steel can have an HRC of about 58, and if it was differentially hardened, it can have an HRC of around 60. Now, John, if you can comment, let me know what you guys tested at the HRC being on these S5 blades. But from what they told me with the S5, and I'll quote him on it, they're typically used to break concrete for high impact dies. It's a workhorse for everyday cutting. It's very good for survival, sword on sword impact, which is something to have a conversation about, or a zombie apocalypse. So the things are a little thin, mainly because he chose them for aesthetics and more functionality. But sword-on-sword contact with the S5 kind of opens up a new realm. If Japanese had a blade like an S5 and they're really good with sword-to-sword contact or blade-to-blade contact, it would be a game changer, guys. I mean, that's what a lot of people talk about Japanese steels, mahogany, and all that stuff, but they don't have the steels and the quality of the steels that we have today. The quality of the steels today are definitely a lot better. Right. I'm not going to be breaking concrete with this. It's good to know that you guys have tested the S5 as having that type of durability and strength, but I'm not going to be breaking any I'm not going to be slamming this thing against concrete. That's for shit sure. If it could just get through my bad cuts and still survive and get through whatever I need to do with it, it's going to be fine for me. But yeah, it's definitely so. S5 is a very good steel, very resilient to bad cuts, and resilient for day in and day out of heavy cutting. That's basically what the S5 is for. This is their trademark steel. This is basically what they're kind of surrounding their company on. This particular sword is coming in, I think, as is, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, this is around $700 for this piece with the S5 steel, which is, again, one of the best steels out there right now. So you're going to be paying for the steel. So this comes in at around $700 with what you're seeing here with the wrap, the Suba, the Koshi, the Saya, and everything that you're seeing. So that's what you got here. And I think, you know what? It's worth it. From what I'm holding in my hand, it's a light and nimble sword. I'm actually really looking forward to kind of using this, reviewing it, cutting with it. But yeah, this is S5 steel. This is the first time I actually held S5 steel in my hand. Very happy to do so. And I'm loving the fact that it is a little bit sharper than the Year of the Tiger. So they definitely listen. They're listening, guys. They're listening to us in terms of our critique and what we're saying, and the fact that they are making their blade sharper, coming in for reviews. I think that's always a good thing. You know what, Bird? Any bamboo that you've sent me, the swords that I cut the bamboo with were all super sharp. I didn't find any freaking problems whatsoever. I don't think super sharp should be a problem with cutting bamboo, especially if it's fresh bamboo. And if you remember, a lot of the bamboo that I was cutting later on was 3 to 4 months old, so it was completely dried out. And I was cutting bamboo with ultra sharp swords, and I didn't have any problems cutting the bamboo with the sharp swords. I didn't have any chips or any issues. So I don't think it should be a problem having being afraid to basically put a nice sharp edge on all your blades if you're cutting bamboo. I don't see it as an issue. Yeah, the S5 is actually is stronger than S7. S7 bird. The S5 is stronger than S7. So I would say, if you put that smash S5 against T10, that's pretty impressive that you guys have been testing it like that. But just so you know what you're getting in this type of S5 steel, it's a very, very good steel, very resilient, very good for any fuck ups or any bad cuts you may have. The fact that they're able to kind of bend this on a vice grip up to 90 degrees, and it's not spring steel, but it still regains its form, which is pretty good. John, how is the edge retention on this S5 steel? Tell us how the edge retention is, and tell us if you didn't see. I didn't see it in the chat. If you said it, if you said what the HRC is, let me see if I could go back on this S5. Strength is always in the heat treatment, John. Absolutely. Yeah, but hard targets, what's hard targets? I mean, most of us are cutting pool noodles. Most of us are cutting tatami mats, maybe some fresh bamboo. I don't consider those as hard targets. I mean, if you're going to be, cutting vines and cutting, chopping into 2x4s or trying to kind of chop limbs off trees and shit, that's what I would consider hard targets, hardwood or anything like that. But the typical things of the above mentioned, I wouldn't really consider those as hard targets. That I would consider as pretty much everyday targets. I know you would, Eric, and thanks. That's really cool of you, man. I know you enjoy getting that sharp edge on that blade, man. Yeah, I've seen examples of the Wakis out there like that. But normally Wakis, traditional Wakis are around 12 inches to up to 24 inches. So this is definitely a lot larger, okay, than your standard Waki. I mean, if you hold it next to a katana, it's not a huge amount of difference here. Agreed. Against the S5, right? And the S5 did well, and Matthew was actually very happy with how the S5 handled. Okay, you look at the polish, guys, on this blade. You notice how smooth? You don't see any lines. I'm trying to keep this as steady as possible. You don't see any lines or anything. It's got a really they do a really nice job in giving you that nice mirror polish. You don't see any lines or ripples or anything like that. Mad cool. HRC for both the 58. Okay. I would disagree, Carl. I don't think bamboo is a very hard target. A fresh listen, if you're talking about dried bamboo, a completely dried out bamboo, that would be more of a harder target. But fresh bamboo is not a very hard target. It really isn't. Yes, you start putting down. That's what I'm saying. When you start cutting into hardwood and you start putting hardwood in between the tatami, then that would be considered a harder target. But if you're just cutting regular rolled tatami, not triple cut rolled or anything like that, cutting your pool noodles, cutting fresh bamboo, I would consider that to be hard targets. I don't see that as hard targets. But yes, putting dials in, cutting into hardwood, like I said, and things of that nature, that would be hard targets. It is a really nice finish. Both these blades have a really, really nice finish. And I have yet to see any of their blades that I see ripples or lines or anything like that. It was iron, yeah. Green bamboo. But even when I cut bamboo that was completely dried out, I was able to really get through it with a lot of swords, which had a very good razor sharp edge on the blades, and I didn't find any issue. I did not find any issue. Again, it goes in the temper of the steel and how well the blades were made. But I'm not afraid of putting a sharp edge on any of my blades because I'm really not going to be cutting anything that crazy with them. Yeah, and that's what the owner kind of is into. He's into basically trying to test out new types of steel, which is cool. That's your opinion, Carl. I don't consider those very hard targets. I really don't. I don't. When's the last time you cut bamboo? It's not green bamboo is not a very hard target. I cut about 65 to 85 pieces of them. Okay, and even when they were dry, and I was still able to get through them with sharp edges. But whatever it is, that's your opinion. But I don't consider those as very hard targets. Now, if I was cutting into hardwood or trying to cut tree limbs and things like that, then you're abusing the blade. You're abusing the edge. But if you have good edge alignment, you're cutting bamboo, it's not a very hard target. Help me out here, Bird. You cut it all the time. Edge retention, the carbon contact. That's it. It all comes from the forge. All right, we'll call bamboo a hard target, but I don't agree. I don't think it's a very hard target. Hard targets, I think, are when I went to the swamp with Scab, and I was cutting into these 3.5-inch vines and cutting into the sides of trees. That's what I would look at as a hard target. When I was cutting into fresh bamboo, it's if you want to call it a hard target, but I don't. I felt like it kind of just it went through it without that much of a difference than kind of cutting tatami mats. It's a little bit more of a challenge in terms of fastening it down, but it's I would consider other things harder. Let's call it harder targets than cutting bamboo. Coffee cans, anything with tin or metal. Hard bottles too, guys. Don't forget if you have like a hard, like a kind of like those Gatorade bottles or those Arizona, those thick gallons of Arizona bottles with that thick plastic, that would be considered a hard target because it's if the plastic on those is very rigid and very tough, depending on where you're cutting it, and those would be considered hard targets as well. But listen, the fact of the matter is this S5 was made to kind of cut through those types of materials, from what I understand, without having too much a problem or taking a set because it can take a little bit of a bend. And it's got a 58 HRC, so it's not super, super, super high, where it'll be brittle at the tip too. So it's also a little bit more in its favor having an HRC around 58. That was with the European swords, man. The sword that's directly behind me, right over here, that was with the European sword, that really thick, heavy ass blade. I was very impressed with how easy it was to kind of swing that thing around. And I put a really sharp edge on that. I think it's a T 1060 steel blade on that. But they did a nice job in tempering that blade because I was able to really get through bottles pretty well, have some good control on it. But thank you. Yeah. All right, so Bird, what do you say? 1 inch and under is not hard, right? But that's what you send to me. Okay, so if we go, all right, so if we talk about bamboo, that's 2 to 3 inches. That's a very hard target. 1 inch and under is not very hard to cut. And the most of the bamboo that you sent me, Bird, was about 1 inches and under. Those weren't hard targets, especially because they were fresh. I could totally imagine if you have a piece of bamboo that's like 2 to 3 inches, that's a hard target. So if we're talking about bamboo being a hard target, then we need to talk about the diameter of the bamboo before we can call it a very hard target. So yes, 2 to 3 inches is a very hard target, but anything a 1 inch and under is not a very hard target with bamboo. I didn't see much of a difference cutting that bamboo that Bird sent me to cut. I actually found it more difficult to cut tatami mats that are rolled and double rolled, but it's still very, very fun to cut the bamboo though. Is what you cut, yes. And I'll agree with you to a certain extent, Carl. I will. Bamboo is considered a hard target, especially if it's a very large diameter bamboo. But anything under the 1 inch mark, it's not a very hard target. There's not much damage that you're putting on the blade, especially if it's fresh. Listen, if it's hard bamboo, there's more prone to put a lot of stress on the edge the harder the bamboo is, with 100%. But I would see other things as being harder targets, which I mentioned before, and I'm not going to say again. So that's it, guys. So here is your Ko-Katana or your Waki, whatever you want to call it. Two really, really, really beautiful swords from Cloudhammer. Thank you, John, for sending these over to me. Really much appreciated. Going to be getting to these in a second. Before I get to that, I have to get to Itachi that was sent to me that I haven't gotten in for review. I have to get to a Zisei sword, but I may get right after the Tachi, I may get to these Cloudhammer swords, and then I'll get to the Zisei after. I just got a lot of swords kind of all at once that I kind of building up. I have also my Medford series of knives that I have to finish up. I have quite a few of those. I have probably about 5 or 6 of those that I still have to kind of cut. And yeah, so we got a lot of content coming your way, guys. But really looking forward to these swords. Really liking what I'm seeing so far with these swords, 100%. Carl, it's fine, buddy. It's all good, man. You don't need to comment 50 million times to prove a point. We got your point, buddy. Move on. I am going to be cutting some watermelon. Actually, Target has like crates and crates of freaking displays of watermelons that I'm looking to get rid of for really cheap. So I'm definitely going to pick up some watermelons to cut with my Tachi and shit. I haven't cut one of those in quite a long time. Definitely. Excellent. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that 31-inch Nagasa. It does. It takes some practice to cut the bamboo. You got to have really swift, really swift cuts in a right angle, and you also have to fasten them the right way. Bird has them down in the ground pretty well, but there is a tendency for kind of to have them fly away from you. But yeah, there is a little bit of a challenge to cutting the bamboo, but once you start learning how to cut the bamboo, I mean, it is mad freaking fun. Mad fun to cut it. Cut flesh and bone. Yes. Swords are made to cut flesh and bone. So if we're talking about flesh and bone, then that means basically you're taking, it's like taking a double wrapped up tatami, putting maybe a wooden dowel in between to simulate bone, and that's will be considered like a limb or something like that, and that's what they used to cut, to do practice cuts. So that's what these swords are supposed to be made for. What's up, Garrett? Thanks for joining us, bud. So that's all I have for you guys. I didn't want to make this way too long. We're on for about an hour. I really wanted to kind of just go in. I don't want to take you guys away from your Labor Day weekend. I hope you guys are all blessed. I hope, much love to everybody in the room. Thanks for joining me. Much appreciated. Enjoy the rest of your Labor Day weekend. I hope you guys have a wonderful day off tomorrow. I'm going to be trying to put maybe a video out tonight for tomorrow before I leave. But thank you, every single one of you guys, for joining me here. Thanks for all your input. John, thank you for the swords. Thanks for answering all the questions that people have been having about your swords. Looking forward to the live that we're going to be having together, where we're going to be discussing your company, talking about the sword market. Really much looking forward to that. That should be probably the 12th or 13th coming up next week. I think it's next Tuesday. I'll put a placeholder out for that. But thank you for sharing in this live with me, guys. Hope you guys are excited with Cloudhammer Steelworks as much as I am. I'm very excited with the products that they're implementing. I'm very excited with the blades and the polish and the saya and the fit and finish and everything that's surrounding these blades. I'm very excited about the fact that they're really taking critique and trying to make their product better, and just trying to get a really good foothold, in the States with these swords. And they got a lot of really good products coming. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what this company has to offer, and looking forward to having you hear from John himself, when we have our interview on this channel next week. So peace out to everybody. Be safe out there. Much love to you and your families. Thank you for joining us, guys. Have a wonderful, peaceful evening, guys. Love to you all. Peace out. See you when I see you.